The rain came sideways against the thin glass, rattling the apartment like a loose drum. Rafi moved without thinking, old instincts born from years of making little out of nothing. He yanked towels from the radiator, pressed steaming bowls of soup onto the counter, and spread a pallet of blankets by the humming space heater. The two girls sat stiff on the worn couch, wet hair clinging to their cheeks. They mirrored each other's silence, wide eyes fixed on the tin soldier turning inside a broken music box that croaked out half a melody before stuttering into silence. "Rules," Rafi said quietly, crouching so they had to meet his eyes. "No noise. You answer only when I ask. Lights stay low. One night, then you're gone." They both nodded, too obedient, like kids who had been told the cost of mistakes before. He reached for his phone, thumb hovering over Zaid's contact. His son was asleep in the next room, the boys breathing steady and sweet through the thin wall. Rafi typed a single red heart emoji and sent it. That way, if Zaid woke and wondered, he'd know his father was there, even if the night spun sideways. Thunder cracked hard, shaking dust from the ceiling. One girl, Maya, pulled a crumpled paper from her pocket. It showed a row of uneven blue cranes drawn in shaky marker, marching toward a stick-figure house with the word "safe" scrawled above it. Her sister Noor slid over a second paper. This one carried only an address, city library, and a single word beneath it. "Return." Rafi's brow furrowed. He opened his mouth to ask questions, but the muted TV in the corner stole his breath. A breaking banner screamed, "Hawthorne heiress twins missing." Photos flashed of Gideon Hawthorne, the cold-eyed pharmaceutical mogul, shaking hands at a gala. Beside him, smiling, were the very girls now dripping rainwater on Rafi's linoleum floor. Below their faces, a number scrolled, promising a six-figure reward. Rafi's throat tightened. His chest felt crushed as if invisible hands pressed down. A knock shattered the stillness. 3 fast raps, too slow. Then a woman's voice, "Child Services." "We have a report." Rafi froze. "Identification?" he asked, forcing calm. The voice answered too quickly, spitting out a badge number that sounded memorized. His gaze shot to the girls. "Did you call anyone?" Both shook their heads furiously, eyes wide with fear. He flicked the breaker in the hall. The stairwell plunged into darkness. Only his apartment glowed faintly from the battery lamp. He crept to the door and leaned into the peephole, a woman in a raincoat. 2 tall silhouettes behind her. Wires curled into their ears like pale snakes. The music box wheezed 3 dying notes, then fell silent, her knuckles rapped again, harder. "Sir, open up." Rafi looked back, TV ticker flashing reward money. The twins clinging to each other. His son asleep in the other room. He kissed his fingers and tapped Zaid's closed door. A silent promise. Then he grabbed his tool bag. "One night," he whispered to the girls, "but I'll have to earn it." The deadbolt twisted. The chain lifted, and the world beyond the door exhaled silence. The chain rattled as Rafi cracked the door just enough to see her face. A woman in a raincoat, clipboard in hand. Her smile looked like something pasted on, stretched thin, and it didn't reach her eyes. "Routine check," she said softly. "Sign here and we'll be out of your hair." The clipboard slid through the gap. Rafi squinted at the paper, holding it steady with one hand while the other hovered out of sight. "You spelled my name wrong," he muttered. "It's with an F and not a PH." She didn't even glance. "Just sign. Form number?" he asked. "There's always an intake number." Her pause was half a second too long. Behind the doorframe, his fingers tapped the elevator button. He knew this building by heart, the way a janitor does. Which lights would flicker before dying? Which doors would stick when summer humidity swelled the wood? Which elevator could be trusted to arrive with a single ding? It came. The sound covered the click of Rafi shutting the door. He snatched up the twins, whispering, "Game time," and hustled them toward the back stairwell. The girls moved like practiced shadows, feet barely touching the steps. Down through the dusty smell of detergent and damp lint into the laundry room's half-light. That's when Noor stopped. She pointed at a small utility panel. Rafi frowned, tugged it open, and there it was. A blue origami crane taped neatly inside. He peeled it away and a plastic keycard dropped into his hand. Cold. Heavy. Not something kids hid for fun. Maya tugged his sleeve, held up the crumpled library paper again, then pressed a finger to her lips. "Shh." She made the motion slow, deliberate, like someone had taught her. Above them, footsteps thudded, Softer than boots, softer than sneakers, shoes designed for quiet. Professionals. Rafi's stomach tightened. He grabbed a rolling laundry bin, lifted the lid. "In," he whispered. The twins didn't argue. They curled inside, clutching each other, eyes wide. He slid into another bin himself, pulling the lid half shut. The air smelled of bleach and dust. He forced his lungs into rhythm. 1, 2, 3, hold. Just like the counselor once taught him after his wife's funeral. The door creaked. The woman's voice floated in. Calm. Controlled. Unit 3. No cries, likely moved. Check elevator logs. Logs? She'd find nothing. Rafi himself had disabled the system years back after management tried charging tenants extra. 2 sets of footsteps split off in opposite directions. Silence returned. Rafi pushed against the lid, muscles straining, and rolled his bin toward the service corridor. He tugged the twins along with his other hand, a final shove, and they burst into the alley. Rain came down in silver sheets, blurring the edges of everything. Rafi shoved the girls into his dented hatchback, tossed the tool bag in after them. The windshield wipers smeared arcs across the glass. That's when he saw it. At the alley's end, parked beneath a flickering sodium light, a black SUV. Engine off. Windows dark, then aglow. A phone screen inside. A flash. They were taking his license plate. Rafi gripped the wheel. "Library opens at dawn," he told the girls. "Until then, we hide, we plan. We draw cranes." He pulled out, making 3 fast turns he knew by muscle memory. But in his rear view, the SUV's lights blinked on and stayed with him. The auto bay was dark, quiet except for the drip of rain slipping through a cracked skylight. The air smelled of burnt rubber, rust, and summer dust, familiar scents that usually meant safety to Rafi. Tonight, they only made the place feel like a cage. He shoved the rolling door up halfway, jammed a hydraulic jack beneath it, then stacked tires against the side entrance like barricades. It wouldn't stop trained people, but it would slow them. Every second mattered. "Here," he told the girls, handing Maya a tray of lug nuts. "Count these twice." He passed Noor a line of wrenches. Biggest to smallest, the tasks were pointless, but it gave their hands something to do besides tremble. Rafi pulled out his phone, thumb flying. 1 quick text to a teacher friend. "Ignore alarm tonight." No explanation. Just enough to buy silence if someone reported the building lights on. From the office, the TV buzzed alive. A press conference. Gideon Hawthorne appeared on screen, perfect in a charcoal suit standing beneath a tower logo. His voice was steady. "We ask for prayers, privacy, and for anyone with information to come forward. We will cooperate fully with authorities." Rafi stepped closer, studying his face. The man's words sounded polished, but his eyes, hard, calculating, looked like smoked glass. The news ticker updated. Reward increased to $1,000. The number made Rafi's stomach twist. His phone rang. Zaid. His son's voice was groggy, warm with sleep. "Baba, where are you?" "Just overtime," Rafi lied gently. "Go back to sleep. Breakfast on me tomorrow." He ended the call before Zaid could hear the fear bleeding into his breath. Outside, the rain had eased. Rafi turned to the twins. "We're safe for now," he muttered, though he wasn't sure he believed it. The music box sat on the counter, its stem bent. He turned it over and froze. A tiny micro-SD card had been wedged beneath the felt lining. His pulse jumped. He grabbed an old laptop, slid the card in. An encrypted folder appeared. Noor leaned in, finger tapping the screen at a file name. bluecranes.mp3. Rafi clicked. A man's voice filled the tinny speakers. Low, rough, almost tender. "If you hear this, follow the cranes. Don't trust uniforms without the phrase 3 chairs. River will meet you at the place we loved." Rafi frowned. River, a place they loved? It wasn't his memory. The side door rattled, a familiar voice drifted in, casual, almost kind. "No reason for this to get messy, Mr. Rafi." His chest clenched. She knew his name. He killed the lights. Maya and Noor dove beneath the workbench. Rafi rolled himself under the lifted sedan, the cold concrete pressing against his back. He gripped a tire iron, eyes darting to the oil pan above. 2 shadows filled the doorway. Still. Patient. Rafi twisted the plug. Oil gushed, spreading black and slick across the floor. He whispered toward the workbench, "When I say go, we run." The woman's boots tapped closer. We're not police, she said evenly. We're paid to retrieve. That's all? The smell thickened. Rafi yanked the jack lever. The sedan slammed down inches, making everyone flinch. At the same time, he ripped the fire alarm cable. Strobes flashed. Sprinklers erupted. The oil turned the floor into a skating rink. Rafi shoved the rolling tool chest hard into the doorway, grabbed the twins, and barreled through the emergency exit. At the fence, he hoisted Maya up, then Noor lit the night. They weren't just chasing. They were building a case. Rafi climbed behind the wheel of his hatchback, knuckles white around the steering. Library by dawn, he muttered, voice raw. Or we drown. The music box in Noor's pocket gave a single lonely note. Then silence. Dawn washed the town in a dull gray blue as Rafi's hatchback rattled to a stop outside the library. The rain had thinned to a mist, dripping down the stone steps. His chest rose and fell in shallow bursts. The girls were still, exhausted but alert, clutching each other's sleeves as if they'd practiced it. The side door creaked open. A weary custodian in coveralls stood there, mop handle in one hand. He recognized Rafi, gave a silent nod. No words. Just a look that weighed the situation and decided not to ask. Inside, the library smelled like dust, ink, and the kind of quiet that used to soothe Rafi when Zaid was a baby and sleep was rare. Rows of books rose up like walls, breathing out old paper and morning light. Noor broke into a run. Her shoes squeaked against the tile as she darted into the children's section. She went straight for the origami display case. Little paper animals lined the shelves. She crouched, slid open the bottom drawer, and froze. There it was, a blue envelope, the handwriting sharp and careful. Maya and Noor, Rafi's stomach twisted. This wasn't random. Someone had planned it. The girls tore the seal. The paper inside was folded in quarters. The words felt more like a set of orders than comfort. If I'm compromised, you follow the cranes to River. River is a person, not a place. The phrase is 3 chairs. Don't talk to anyone without it. The keycard will open a locker at Union Terminal. In the locker, proof. The last line had been underlined twice. Trust the janitor. Rafi felt a fist close around his chest. The words were aimed at him, deliberate, as if someone had known exactly where this would lead. Behind the front desk, the librarian Evelyn pretended to fuss with receipts. She didn't look at the envelope but slid a dented thermos across the counter. Her eyes said what her lips didn't. Godspeed. The TV above her head flipped channels. One pundit accused Hawthorne of staging the kidnapping for sympathy ahead of an FDA hearing. Another waved old court records accusing him of neglect. Truth was splintering on live television. The door banged open. A uniformed officer stepped in. Young, steady, eyes too honest to be like the others. Sir, have you seen 2 girls? Rafi forced a calm smile. No, officer, the man hesitated. Then lowered his voice. Phrase? Rafi's breath caught. He gambled. 3 chairs. Relief softened the officer's face. Detective Sadaf. He tilted his head toward a woman standing half-hidden behind the shelves. She stepped forward, small, sharp-eyed, sleeves rolled. She didn't touch the twins. Her gaze locked on Rafi. You found the cranes. Good. Listen carefully. They're corporate contractors. They'll flip this and hang the kidnapping charge on you. 1 slip is all they need. She placed a burner phone on the desk. Call River with this at noon. Locker 14, Union Terminal. Keycard will work. Don't go alone. Before Rafi could answer, a reflection flickered in the window pane. The raincoat woman. Watching, Sadaf didn't flinch. Time to move. In the alley, a minivan idled. They climbed in fast. As the engine growled, the raincoat woman lifted her phone and snapped a photo of the license plate. They're building a timeline to bury you, Sadaf muttered. Rafi's thoughts snapped to Zaid. Attendance sheets, morning routines, traceable paths. He called the school, forced calm. His uncle's picking him up today. Then texted a friend to intercept. At a red light, the music box rattled across the floorboard. Another shard of microSD slipped free, almost mocking him. Proof, useless until it saw daylight. Noon was only hours away. Union Terminal was waiting. So was River. Sadaf glanced at him. You up for a crime you didn't plan to commit? Rafi tightened his grip on the wheel. Stealing back the truth. The light turned green. Behind them, the black SUV's turn signal clicked in rhythm. A metronome counting down. Union Terminal breathed like an old cathedral. Every sound doubled back in echoes. The vaulted ceiling caught even the smallest whispers and sent them soaring like birds. Rafi walked under it with his cap low, jacket zipped, his every step ringing like he didn't belong. People in pressed coats and rolling luggage looked right through him, but he felt like a wrong note in someone else's song. Detective Sadaf moved them like pieces on a board. She steered Noor toward the cafe, ordering Coco to keep her occupied while Rafi kept Maya close. The girl's hand was small but damp in his palm, her knuckles white with nerves. They followed the tiled hall toward the lockers. Each footstep hit like a drum beat louder than it should have. Locker 14 blinked, the green light waiting. Rafi slid the keycard. A beep, then the lock released with a sigh. Inside was no ordinary stash, a leather folio, a prepaid phone, and a Polaroid. Maya and Noor smiling with a woman Rafi had never seen. Not the mother on the news. Not Hawthorne's face. This woman looked like the kind who packed lunches and brushed hair before school. A nanny, maybe. On the back, in the same precise hand from the letter, River trusts him. A date stamp, 2 nights ago. Rafi's phone buzzed. Noon. He flipped open the burner. "This is River," a voice said. Warm, rough, like someone who'd smoked too many cigarettes and lost too many nights of sleep. "If you're with the girls, you're already braver than most." Rafi's throat tightened. "Phrase?" The voice chuckled, faint but sure. 3 chairs. Instructions followed quickly, clipped. "Take the folio to St. Bridget's, 3rd confessional booth, leave it with Father Luis. Then head to 14th and Porter." A safe flat was waiting. Before Rafi could ask more, Sadaf's voice snapped through his earpiece. Eyes up. He turned. The raincoat woman was here. Casual. Pushing a stroller like a mother on holiday. Her head turned just enough for their eyes to meet. Rafi slammed the folio shut, tucked it under his jacket, and pulled Maya toward the church exit. The confessional smelled of incense and wood polish. He slid the folio through the grate. A hand on the other side took it, silent except for the whisper, "Go with God." Outside, a busker struck up a tune, a broken melody that matched the girl's music box exactly. Maya slowed, her head tilting. Rafi tugged her forward. From the mezzanine, Sadaf hustled Noor down the stairs. A man stepped into her path, badge flashing, but one digit was wrong. Rafi barreled into him, knocking him aside with a rush of apologies. The stroller toppled, spilling not a child but a camera rig onto the marble. They burst into daylight. The black SUV glided to the curb. A back door opened. "We can end this," the raincoat woman called. "Your boy's school is very public. Don't make us involve him." The words froze Rafi where he stood, Sadaf's jaw locked. "We move, now." They ducked into the parish hall. Father Luis met them at the door, keys already in his hand. "Basement," he said. "Tunnel to the old rectory." They stumbled through dim corridors. The girls clung to each other, and Rafi carried their fear as if it was his own. At the end, a paint-stuck door gave way with a groan. Above ground, the sun had found courage. Rafi hadn't. He dialed River again. "They know my son," he said. River's voice came back fast, unshaken. "Then we change the game. Stop running. Make them chase the truth in the one place they can't control. Hawthorne's own house." The line clicked dead. The music box in Noor's pocket struck one bright note. Rafi looked up. The skyline cut sharp against the light. Hawthorne Tower stood like a blade, waiting. The boathouse sat at the edge of the river like something abandoned by time. Boards warped from summers long gone, windows smeared with dust and cobwebs. The place had once echoed with kids' laughter and camp songs. Now it smelled of mildew and old rope. Inside, a single lantern lit the room. A woman stood waiting, posture straight, eyes sharp. Rafi noticed her hair pulled back, face tired but alert, like someone who lived half in shadows. "You must be Rafi," she said, voice steady, almost amused. "The janitor," he shifted his tool bag. "Mostly mops and carburetors." Reva Delaney grinned, quick and fox-like. "Good. Tonight we fix a city." She knelt and pried up a warped plank. Beneath it, a floor safe clicked open. The contents looked like they could topple empires. Duplicates of the folio's files, memos about failed drug batches, pricing spreadsheets that turned insulin into a luxury, emails that ordered newsrooms to bury whistleblower stories. But it wasn't just corporate crimes. Rafi's eyes caught on a sealed custody order. Words underlined, visitation dispute. Riva explained. Not abuse, control. Gideon tried to blow the whistle through regulators. The board crushed him, painted him unstable. Then they staged a retrieval of his daughters to finish the job. Rafi clenched his jaw. This wasn't chaos. It was manufactured. Riva held up a Polaroid, the same nanny from the locker. A faint smear of blood on one corner of the document. Her voice faltered. Lena's missing. Detective Sadaf spread a crude map on the workbench. The chain of command runs like this. Kellen Voss, CFO, slick and untouchable. Torres, corporate security ex-military. A PR firm that owns half the headlines in this city. And a judge who signs emergency orders between tea times. Rafi rubbed his face, overwhelmed. Where do I fit in? Riva looked at the twins, then back at him. You're the only one with no stake. No stock, no power to lose. That makes you dangerous. The plan was simple but suicidal. Crash the board's emergency session that night. Stream everything from inside Hawthorne. Broadcast the files to the lobby displays. The phrase 3 chairs would signal federal agents on the way. But first, Zaidat Sadaf dialed quickly, then exhaled in relief. Your friend already collected him. He's safe. Rafi closed his eyes. For the first time in hours, he let a breath steady him. Then, the door rattled. Riva's phone buzzed. A text lit the cracked screen. They're tracing church calls. Everyone froze. Scatter, Riva ordered. Rafi grabbed the twins and pushed through the reeds, mud sucking at their shoes. Sadaf peeled off another way, carrying a backup drive. Riva pulled her hood up, slipping into the morning crowd like she'd done it 1,000 times. On the service road, a tow truck blocked the path. Rafi's heart hammered. Then the driver leaned out. Big Vic, his old shop buddy, grin half hidden under a ball cap. You still owe me a socket set, Vic said. Then his smile faded. Get in, quick. They climbed aboard. Above, a drone whirred, lens glinting in the weak light. It circled once, patient, calculating. Rafi slammed the truck door, jaw tight. For the first time in hours, he whispered a prayer, quiet enough the wind barely caught it. The drone followed, steady as a vulture. The mall was alive with weekend noise. Families drifting between storefronts, music bleeding from speakers, the constant echo of footsteps on polished tile. For Rafi, it was the perfect cover and the worst place to breathe. Crowds made good camouflage, but too many eyes meant witnesses who couldn't tell truth from panic. He and Vic moved fast, folding blue post-its into crude paper cranes. They stuck them along exits, tucked them on railings, slid them under benches. A code only they understood, markers for escape routes and choke points. Rafi's phone buzzed. Riva's text glowed. Federal liaison delayed. Hold your move. Seconds later, Sadaf replied with a location ping and a single skull emoji. The meaning was clear. Danger was already here. The twins clutched his sleeves. He bought them baseball caps from a kiosk, tugged the brims low. Listen, he whispered, kneeling so they saw his face. 1 squeeze for yes. 2 for no. 3 for danger, got it? Their tiny hands pressed his in unison. Then the air shifted. The raincoat woman appeared as if the fluorescent lights themselves had conjured her. A stroller in front of her. A baby cooed, reaching out a soft hand toward Noor's cap. Rafi forced a smile, stepped aside. The hand missed by an inch. Something small clattered to the ground. A tracker. He kicked it sideways, watched it vanish into an escalator seam, and then came Kellen Voss. Crisp suit, lacquered smile, moving like he owned the oxygen in the building. He stopped by the fountain, folded his hands neatly. I prefer clean solutions, Kellen said, voice smooth as glass. Give me the girls and you fetch your son. He tilted his phone toward Rafi. A video feed, Zaid, coloring in a living room, alive and whole. Relief hit Rafi like a punch until his eyes caught the timestamp. Last night, old, Rafi said flatly. Kellen's smile didn't waver. Truth is relative in a crisis, Mr. Rafi. Above, the drone's whir grew louder. The skylight shimmered as if the building itself was watching. Rafi made his choice. He slipped to a maintenance panel he had once repaired years back and pressed a test switch. Sprinklers hissed alive. Water sheeted from the ceiling. Shoppers shrieked, scattering in a tide of noise and chaos. Sadaf acted fast. She shoved Noor into Vic's arms. Go! Rafi grabbed Maya, dragging her toward the service corridor, but a guard stepped out. Torres's man. His hand clamped down on Maya's wrist. Rafi lunged, but the man's training showed. He peeled Rafi off like he was nothing. Kellen reached forward, taking Maya's hand as if she were an honored guest. He bent, almost kind. 45 minutes, he murmured. Hawthorne Tower, come alone. Or the boy becomes a headline none of us wants. He opened an umbrella, walked away calm as a banker, Maya's face pale but unflinching beside him. Rafi stood shaking, wanting to scream, but swallowing it the way grief had taught him. His eyes fell on the music box, dropped in the rush. He picked it up. Something rattled inside. A second micro SD card. The label, Boardroom Cam, he showed it to Sadaf. We don't trade with ghosts. We drag them into light. Her answer was firm. Then we take his house. Vic's tow truck roared to life. Rafi squeezed Noor's hand. Once for yes, twice for no, 3 times for danger. She squeezed back steady. Riva's final text pinged. Executive session now. 30 minutes. Rooftop pad on standby. The drone's hum drifted away like it had caught a new scent of blood. They drove toward Hawthorne Tower, the kind of building that swallowed men who didn't belong. The lobby of Hawthorne Tower gleamed like wealth itself. Polished marble, brass trim, glass that sparkled brighter than the morning sun. Guards stood at their posts, eyes sharp, but not for men like Rafi. Men like him only existed when they caused a mess. He kept his head down, cap brim low, hand resting lightly on Noor's shoulder. Brim down, he whispered. She nodded, pulling it lower like a secret shield. His eyes scanned everything. Security cameras tucked into corners, angles, blind spots. The ficus near the elevator created one perfect shadow. He filed it away. Sadaf peeled off toward the mezzanine, moving like she belonged. Riva drifted toward the PR suite, jacket buttoned, hair tied, already looking like an employee late for a meeting. Vic disappeared toward the loading dock. His job simple but critical. Cut the power on Rafi's signal. Rafi swiped the keycard at the executive elevator. For one tight breath, he feared rejection. Then it pinged green, accepted. The door slid open. The ride was silent. No music. Just the hum of cables and the slow rise into a curated sky where everything smelled of money and control. The executive floor was hushed, walls muffling the world. Frosted glass doors glowed faintly. One whispered a name. Kellen Voss. Inside, the conference room waited. A polished table for 12. At the head, 3 chairs raised slightly higher on a dais. Symbols of power disguised as furniture. 3 chairs, Rafi muttered, finally understanding. He pulled the micro SD from his pocket and slid it into the console. The screen blinked alive. Credentials required. He tapped the keycard. A password prompt, first attempt, the twins' birthdays, denied second, his own son's birthday, denied. His hands trembled. Then his eyes caught the Polaroid, the faded date in the corner. Lena, the nanny. He typed it in. Access granted. The boardroom cam file opened. Grainy footage filled the screen. Torres and Kellen, calm and rehearsed, discussing retrieval optics, referencing a church pipeline, practicing the raincoat woman's fake lines. It was damning. Rafi pressed schedule. The video cued itself to every lobby screen in the building, top of the hour. He slipped the remote into his pocket. Then, a cluck of the tongue. Rafi turned. Torres stood in the doorway, wiry, bored expression. 2 men at his sides. You fix floors, Torres said. We fix everything else. Rafi didn't move. He kept his hands visible. He'd lost fights before. He knew what they cost. Torres cuffed him to a chair. His gaze flicked to Noor, then away. Even wolves respected cubs. The board will have what it needs, he said, tapping his watch. Downstairs, the breaker snapped. Vic's work. Darkness swallowed the tower for a heartbeat. Generators coughed to life. The lobby screens glitched, then steadied, primed and waiting. Sadaf's voice crackled in Rafi's earpiece. Federal team, 2 minutes out. They'll use the phrase. Torres yanked it free, smirking. Do you know what happens to good men in rooms like this? Rafi's thoughts slammed into him. His wife's last breath, Zaid learning to tie his shoes, the twins humming a broken melody. They keep the floor clean, he said. Then he kicked hard, snapping the dais leg. His cuffed chair wrenched forward, slamming into Torres's knees. The room erupted. Noor dove under the table, slammed the door latch with her shoulder like a battering ram. Alarms screamed. Above them, a rotor thumped the air. Heavy, urgent. Kellen was leaving, with Maya. If Rafi failed now, he had 60 seconds left to ever see her again. Rafi sprinted up the final stairwell, lungs burning, one wrist still cuffed to the chunk of chair metal he'd torn loose. It dragged like dead weight, but he gripped it with both hands, turning it into a makeshift shield. Noor clung to his side, her little legs pumping furiously, brave as a candle trying to stand in a hurricane. The rooftop door was ajar, propped open with a wedge because men who lived in towers didn't like to push. The moment they burst through, the rotor wash hit them. The sound rattled their ribs, the wind stung their faces. On the landing pad, Kellen Voss was already moving, his hand on Maya's arm, ushering her toward a helicopter. The corporate logo gleamed on its side. The pilot sat stiff in his seat, headset on, gaze locked forward. He didn't look at children. He didn't want to. Rafi didn't hesitate. He hurled the broken chair base. It skidded under the skid rail, clanging hard against metal. The pilot startled, jerking his head. Kellen whipped around. "You're persistent," Kellen called, his tone almost admiring but soaked in contempt. "It's wasted on you." Rafi raised the console remote high. With a single press, the lobby screens below flickered to life. Boardroom cam footage rolled, Torres and Kellen's own voices spilling across 10 floors of glass. Gasps rose from the street like a living tide. Kellen's phone buzzed. He glanced down. His own words, his own face reflected back at him in front of thousands. His color drained. The stairwell door slammed behind Rafi. Torres stormed out, gun drawn, held low, posture steady. "Professional. Walk away," Torres said, voice flat. "Shoot, kids." Rafi shifted sideways, forcing Torres to adjust his aim, buying seconds. He kept talking to stay breathing. "You ever fix something you didn't break?" Torres's lip twitched. "Everything breaks itself." The service stair banged open again. Riva rushed out, camera in hand, streaming live. Behind her, Sadaf pushed through with 2 agents. Their words cut through the rotor noise. 3 chairs, a password and a promise. Kellen panicked. He shoved Maya toward the helicopter and bolted for the far door that led to the executive apartments. But Maya dug her heels into the concrete, twisted hard, and sank her teeth into his hand with the ferocity of a child who'd memorized every rule and learned when to break them. Kellen yelped, shocked. The rotor wash tore at their clothes. From Noor's pocket, the battered music box rattled. A shard of plastic popped free, clattering to the ground. A final sliver of microSD. Rafi jammed it into his phone. A file blinked. Lena voice note. He hit play. Lena's rushed voice spilled out into the storm. "If I disappear, it was Voss. River, trust the janitor. Gideon didn't fail them. He saved them when I couldn't." The words cut like lightning into Riva's livestream. Torres's gun sagged. His face hardened. Not loyalty, but calculation. He wasn't paid enough for this kind of truth. Kellen lunged again, fingers catching Noor's sleeve. Rafi stepped between them without thought. The shoulder check slammed into him, pain blossoming sharp, then fading fast. He'd lived through worse. He could live through this. Sadaf's agents surged forward. Torres stepped back, choosing survival over orders. The pilot reached up and killed the engine. His pension mattered more than his paycheck. Kellen stumbled to the edge of the pad, chest heaving, cornered like an animal. Below him was only glass and concrete. He turned, hands raised, smile gone. "You can't keep the market from correcting," he spat, as if gravity was just another hedge. The agents closed in. Sirens wailed from the streets below, rising like the city itself had decided to remember. The boardroom no longer looked like a place for business. It looked like a courtroom, but without a judge. Only 10,000 eyes streaming in through cameras, watching live from the lobby and beyond. The boardroom cam looped across screens. Documents burst from the printers downstairs, pages littering the marble floor as if guilt itself wanted to become paper. Then Gideon Hawthorne walked in. No tailored tie, no bodyguards, no armor of money. Just his face bare and lined, his hands empty, and his gaze fixed straight ahead. Federal prosecutors flanked him, but he carried himself like a man choosing to walk into fire. His voice didn't tremble. "I failed at the right things and the wrong ones. I tried to fix the money first. That was backward. This is me turning around." He slid a folder across the table, offered passwords, signed statements. Then he turned his head, just enough to nod at Rafi and then at his daughters. A small gesture, but it said everything. "I see you seeing me." Across the room, Sadaf's cuffs clicked tight around Kellen's wrists. His lacquered calm cracked at last, jaw stiff, words dying in his throat. Torres stood nearby, his own jaw locked, then finally loosened. He gave his statement, measured, damning, a torch he knew would burn every bridge behind him. Riva lifted a mic to the crowd, her voice steady, camera streaming to the city. "You were told a story," she said. "Here is the plot twist. The judge with the golf membership, watching from a monitor, suddenly needed a lawyer. In a side room, the twins finally let go." Maya trembled, her bravery gone now that the danger was over. Noor clutched the music box, its song stopping mid-phrase. Gideon knelt before them. "I love you," he said, no flourish, no excuse. Then he stood, turned, and did the grown-up thing. Sat down with the prosecutors, ready to face the role he played in letting a machine grow too big for any man to steer. News tickers blared. Hawthorne Pharma's stock hiccuped, then plunged. Outside, families who needed insulin stared at the numbers and wondered if tomorrow would finally be kinder. Rafi stood slumped, adrenaline draining. His body folded in on itself, tired in every bone, the thought of sleep heavy as stone. Then Baba. Zaid came barreling in, safe, whole, tears hot on his cheeks. He hit Rafi's chest so hard it knocked air out of him. Rafi hugged his son, folding him into arms that reset something deeper than bones. Gideon stepped close, cautious. "I can never repay," Rafi raised a hand. "Repay the city. Start with insulin." Something rigid broke in Gideon's face. He nodded. Reporters shouted, flashbulbs popped, PR handlers scrambled for angles, but none worked under sunlight. Sadaf clapped Rafi on the shoulder. "You did my job for me," she muttered. "Half a joke, half the truth." Riva pressed his hand. "You fixed more than floors.